For joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So we've got yet another awesome guest for you today. His name is Brent Webb. He has been all over the world. He has been in the entertainment industry for a long time. He is a mentalist. He focuses on teaching people how to change their mindset and how to take control of their thought process to focus on the things that bring meaning and value to them in their lives. And super smart guy, super interesting guy. He's going to share all of this stuff with you. He doesn't have a course. He's not writing a book that he's trying to sell us. He's giving you all these things that he's learned through all of his experiences for free. Super interesting guy, super interesting conversation. You're going to love that you joined us on this episode. So without further ado, let's bring Brent onto the podcast right now. All right, here we go. So Brent, thank you so much for joining us on Salty Ginger Talk tonight.
Hey, it's my pleasure. So glad to be here.
Yeah, we had a great conversation not that long ago. I'm glad you were able to sneak us into your schedule so quick. I know you're a busy guy.
Well, yeah, we did have such a great talk, and I know we can give some great knowledge to your listeners, watchers out there. So yeah, I was excited to get on here and start talking with you.
Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, what we usually do is we just have our guest kind of give a broad overview of their life, and you get to choose. Some people have really important stuff that happened in their childhood and they want to make sure that gets in there. Some people start when they're adults and work through their professional career. Doesn't matter to us. It's your story. But we start there and then we go back and do a deep dive on stuff, on particular topics that are important to you. And look, you preach, maybe preach isn't the right word. You teach, preach, prophesize the same types of things that we do. And so I'm very, very excited to have you on so people can hear your perspective on a lot of these topics that we talk about on our podcast all the time, which are a purposeful life, controlling your mindset, that you have a choice on how you react to what the world throws at you, even if you don't have a choice what the world does throw at you. So yeah, just super excited. So knowing that's the territory we're looking to cover, I cede to you. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, my name is Brent. Like we discussed, I started out I was an only child, started out in Ohio, in the Midwest, in America. And ever since I was a little kid, for some reason, I wanted to be a magician. So I was, one of those little kids that was always annoying people with card tricks and all that stuff. And what happened was when I was 10, I went to the library. Every Saturday I would get magic books. One Saturday I got a copy of a book called The Magic of Believing. Now it was just put back in the wrong spot, which I don't think was the wrong spot. It was meant for me to read that book. Because even at 10, I was like, oh my God, there's something more than we realize going on here, right? So I kept that in the back of my mind. I eventually went to college, hated it, dropped out, met Joan Rivers, went on the road, started performing. I started out as a mentalist, which is like a mind reader, and of course an entertainer. But the more I got into the mind and the more I toured the world and the more I met teachers and other mind power experts, I started to really realize, wow, where I'm using like 7% of my mind. And it's incredible what we can do. Everyone thinks you've got to go somewhere, you've got to do something, you have to somehow earn this. But it doesn't matter where you are, how old you are, what you look like, how much you weigh. None of that matters. Everything you have is inside you. So really right after COVID, really, because it was the first time in 30 years I stopped. I've been on tour, cruise ship, casinos, all kinds of corporate events, that sort of thing. So I stopped. I took 2 years off. I mean, the first year I had to take off, right? But I really started going, I'm kind of over being on stage, getting applause, because it's great. You get a standing ovation and then you leave, right? But there's nothing real to that. It's just, for my ego. And the more I started to teach people little things, I started to mix it in the show, and it started to become more and more and more as people were coming back and saying, wow, this is changing my life. I did this. Now I meditate. Now I do this. So I really started morphing them. So what I do now is a kind of a combination. Even on cruise ships, I do, a big stage show, but it's also about learning how to unlock your mind power. So what's different than most speakers, you speak to somebody and a lot of people are turned off because they feel like they're being preached to. And that's great. You said preach because that's what they feel like. But by mixing it with, a Vegas show, they're getting entertained, they're getting, they're laughing, they're amazed, but they're also learning these valuable tools because, like I said, anyone can do this. And it took me years. I'm talking, in my 20s, 30s, I was a millionaire at 20. I was broke by 30, millionaire by 40, right? And what happened to me is I always tell people this story. You remember the TV show Dallas?
Of course. Who shot JR?
Right. Well, when I was a kid, Dallas started when I was 4 years old. Okay. My mom would watch it. So I was watching it on Friday nights as a little tiny kid. My mom stopped. I never did. I watched 13 years of Dallas every Friday night. Even if I went out, I taped it. Yep. I wanted to be JR. I'm like, the guy gets all the women. He gets all the money. He's always smiling. He's always like screwing somebody over. I made it my life's goal. I really did. I'm going to be like JR. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get rich. And then I'm just going to enjoy my life. When I made that first million and I was 20 and I got the big house and I got the car and all that, the happiness lasted about a week. And I realized I've been going all my life for something that's not real. It's an illusion. Then I started drinking. I started smoking. I gained 150 pounds. I did all of this self-destructive stuff because the thing I thought would make me happy did not make me happy. And then I realized I got to go back to what I learned at 10 years old. And that's really what did it. So since then, I've been teaching people how to do this. I don't even sell. I mean, I sell things, but I don't try to get people into courses or anything. I think if you need help, this is how we change the world. You start changing yourself. The people around you get motivated. They get inspired. They start to change. It's not by weapons or war or who has the bigger nukes. I mean, obviously that doesn't do it. We've been doing that since the beginning of time and it's never worked for anyone. Right. And it's like, if you do the same thing over and over every day and it never, ever has worked, maybe it's time to start doing something else. You're in this mindset where there's nothing else, man. There is so much more than you realize. So that's where I am. I have that mindset myself, but I love giving it to other people and seeing other people do this. I go do corporate events now, but I train the employees and I teach them, hey, you've got to do this with your mind. You've got to do these, spend a few minutes in the morning and the evening and kind of get control of what's going on up there. Because nowadays we are so addicted to our phones. We have a 7-second attention span. Back in the 80s, like 1989, it was 7 minutes. Now it's 7 seconds. That's why everything is made like you're scrolling and they're trying to stop you. Bright colors and because you have 7-second attention span. So it's like, this is the time. If there's any time in history that we've needed this is it right now. So yeah, that's where I am. And I love to help. So whatever I can do, here we go.
I totally love that. And so, one of the things I try to do on the podcast, we have a broad group of people as guests, and our guests are very high caliber people. And I don't mean that from a financial perspective. I mean that from a personal perspective, because to talk about the things we talk about, you have to do some self-reflection. You have to be wanting to improve your life. You have to be looking for purpose in your life. That tends to require or attract a higher caliber person. So we look for commonalities. What do all these people have in common? And one of them, all of them you've already talked about, struggle, right? It's rare to see someone that just, hey, things went great for me the whole way and here I am. That is fucking bullshit. That never happens. And if you hear someone preaching that story, run the other way because they're not telling you the truth. That's not how it works at all. Another thing we see in common is they take action even after they get stuck. They might wind up on the mat at some point. In fact, I know they wind up on the mat at some point. But I always like to use Rocky in round 14 when Apollo Creed finally knocks him down and the whole stadium is like, stay down. And he crawls back up the ropes. And Apollo Creed turns around and he's like, I can't fucking kill this guy. And you just got to get back in and keep throwing punches. We see that in our guests. It looks different. It manifests itself different, but they all have that in common. And 3, that you this is the one you touched on that resonates the most with me in general, is they're looking for purpose. And you had the benefit, both the curse and the benefit, I would argue mostly benefit, of finding that at an early age and realizing, well, this doesn't mean a fucking thing. This doesn't mean anything to me. And I thought it was going to mean everything to me. What else is out there? And so the people that wind up at really good spots in life do so through purpose. And that's the thing I love about it is you, whoever you are, you in the collective sense, get to pick the purpose. It's not my place to tell you what to pursue or what should mean something to you. I can tell you what won't mean something to you because I know it from personal experience like Brent does. I've had a Porsche. I've had BMW, blah, blah, blah. They're fucking cars. I drive a Hyundai Santa Fe now, and it gets great gas mileage. It's paid off. I bought it in cash, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. I live in a little ranch house because I don't need the big house that I had and sold. It's pointless. My kids are off the reservation now. Material possessions are not going to make you happy. Chasing something that you believe in and that fills you up is what's going to make you happy. And it's actually the pursuit that'll make you happy, not the acquisition of it. So, totally love that. Let's go back to the very first book, the book you found when you were 10. I think you said it was Magic of Believing, The Magic of Believing.
Yeah, The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. Now, it was written in the 40s, I think like 1948. And it's really it's like The Secret without all of the, I mean, The Secret basically is a genius marketing tool. Oh, the secret has been hidden from you. And what people get so wrong is I see so many people talking about the law of attraction. Trying to attract to you what you want is not going to make you feel any better. Not going to do anything because there's a reason why you want that. Instead of trying to figure out why it is you want that, you're going right for I'm trying to attract to me a love. I'm trying to attract to me a car. And they think it works like you sit on the sofa, you start thinking, I want a Ferrari, and then it's out in the driveway all of a sudden like magic. That's the problem because what you touch the most magic word of all is action. Everyone misses the action step. It's like there's the disconnect between creating what you want because you got to have a goal. You got to know what it is. Otherwise, you're just, out at sea with no navigation. But once you've done that, you have to start moving towards that. You have to start feeling like that. And that's kind of what that book talked about. It was very bare bones. It didn't have all of the things that are added to The Secret to make it, like I said, very commercial. This just told the truth. It talked about self-belief. It talked about the power of the mind. It goes into all kinds of pieces of, even from history, how Hitler used mind control to get, all the Germans on his side. It was so interesting at 10. I go back and read that book at least 3 times a year. I have the audio version. When I'm walking, I'll listen to that. You can get a free copy online. It's The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. But the book is life-changing because it doesn't take any kind of religious aspect. It doesn't take any kind of, you have to do a certain thing. This is a mind thing. This is basically, you've done this to yourself. You have set up this idea of what you like, what you don't like, who you are, who you're not. And you've created this fake version of yourself. And now you fight tooth and nail to make it come true. You go out in the world and instead of accepting reality, it's like, he's got to be like this to make me happy. And she has to do this. And that has to be like, come on, that never works. And even if it works for a second, that moment's going to be over. And that's what almost everyone in the world does. They think the outside world is what's most important. They never pay any attention to the inner world. And then they go to the outer world. And first they go to their mind and they say, what am I going to do to be happy? Now your mind is not happy. You've programmed your mind, right? So how is it going to tell you how to be happy? It's going to start giving you, okay, remember you were happy when you went to Hawaii. Maybe you should go back there. A sports car made you happy once. So that's what it starts doing. Then you start chasing it until you realize, hey, there's something going on up here in the background that I am not aware of. It's running 90% of the day, 90% of the day, you're on autopilot. When you're driving a car somewhere, you're not going, okay, I go down to the tree, I make a left, then I go down to Main Street. You're not doing that. You're literally in your head thinking about the fight you're going to have with your wife when you get home. What are you going to have for dinner? The birthday party in 3rd grade where you peed your pants and then you get embarrassed. All this stuff comes up in your mind. You're not pulling that up. It's just popping up all by itself. That's what's happening all day long. You get these thoughts, then you get an emotion, and then you get sucked into it. And so nobody's really living. They're living through this veil of their past. It's like everything you see, it's like a computer. You only have the data that you've put into it. So the only data you have is your experiences, nothing else. So if you're looking at life through your experiences, it's going to be colored by whatever happened to you. People don't understand that either. It's like driving a car and the windshield is filthy layer after layer and you're trying to see. It's like you're driving this car, you don't get, you've got to clean the windshield after, every time. And so you're not looking at reality through that. So it's like, I hate awakening, or, a lot of people try to say enlightened. I mean, enlightened is a word that's for masters. I mean, somebody who can really at will do this, but being awake is just waking up to the fact that I don't have to live like this. And in fact, you are the only one that can change it. It doesn't matter. No one, I always say this is a single room apartment in here. It's you, right? There's no one else in there. Your mom's not in there. Your kids aren't in there. No one is in there except for you. So if anything is going on that is not happening in reality, in other words, you're still upset about something your mom did 30 years ago, that is now on you. Mom's dead. Mom hasn't been around for a long time. And if that's going on in you, that means you've done it. You've put it there. You keep suppressing it. So that book opened all that for me. And then when I met Joan Rivers, she was a huge proponent of that book. She introduced me to Phyllis Diller. Phyllis Diller based her whole career from that book. She was a housewife with 5 kids and a husband who wouldn't work. She was in her 40s or late 30s. And she read that book for a year and a half. She dog-tailed the pages. She underlined everything. She went out and became the first real female stand-up comedian. It wasn't even a job you could do at that time from that book, because and I thought, wow, it's really, all these things are coming back. Like, they keep in my life, I would see these things and it'd be like, remind me of it. But we get these messages and we just kind of go past them. That's a coincidence. That doesn't matter, and you forget about it. They just keep popping up. And every time, I've gone back to that. I've had cancer. I've been broke. I've had, smoking, drinking. It all comes back to mindset, because it doesn't really matter what it is. It's the way it's not the world out there that's bothering you. It's the way you are looking at the world out there. So once you realize that, you've got immense control. It's no longer your little tiny you versus the world. It's you're in control of your own world. So you've got to, learn how to start taking that control. Everyone's afraid of their mind. It's like your mind's like a crazy monkey up there and you're used to laying down to it for your entire life. Now you realize I'm in control, and you can start bringing, that monkey back under your control.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, so before we dive deeper into that, I just want people to, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of your experiences, because I want people to understand you've been exposed to and around a lot of things that a lot of people consider glamorous or high importance, high profile. And, I had similar experiences in the athletic world. So I played baseball, and I knew and played with and against a lot of guys who played Major League Baseball. And so I was around a lot of that. And when you're around those things, even for just a little bit, it becomes very apparent. These are just fucking people, man. This whole thing is not real. It looks one way because of the way it's lit and the way it's shot from the camera and the way it's set up, but it's not real. But if you wouldn't mind, spend a little bit of time talking about some of those experiences that you've been fortunate enough to experience, and then we'll pivot back, because I love what you just said, and I want to talk about victim mentality is the thing that popped into my mind when you were talking. I want to go there next, but if you wouldn't mind, share a little of your experiences.
Okay. Like I said, I went to college and I literally went for half a semester. I hated it so much. I was sitting in class going, what am I doing? Like, I get it. College is great for many, many people, but this is not for me. This is not the path I'm going down. This isn't going to help me. Again, my dad wanted me to be a lawyer. It's like, how many of us are living lives that we don't even want because somebody told us we had to do it, or it was right? So I would get up in the morning. I would go, I swear this is true, rent a hotel sometimes, go back to sleep. So my parents got all, the incompletes. It's like, I have all these incompletes I didn't finish, but I literally met the Smothers Brothers and Don Rickles in Florida I was doing a corporate gig. I met them. I started opening for Rickles. That's how I met Joan Rivers. And so that changed everything, because my dad disowned me and said, don't ever come home. If, oh my God, you're going into show business. And again, very hard. I mean, who wants to disappoint their father? Now, when I started earning more than him, he welcomed me with open arms back. Because for a lot of people, that's what it is. It's, oh, well, as long as you're making money, it's okay. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why Anthony Bourdain killed himself and Kate Spade killed herself. Money doesn't do it. And Jim Carrey always says, I wish everyone, had money so they could see that it doesn't what you think it does. Right. So anyway, I started going on the road. I started working with great people. What happened to me at first, I did comedian. So I did Smothers Brothers, Don Rickles, Joan Rivers, Phyllis Diller. Then I met Chaka Khan. I worked for her. And then I did Patti LaBelle, Chaka Khan, the Pointer Sisters, Gladys Knight. It's like once you get in with a certain group, he's great. Yeah. So they start using it. So I'm touring all over the world, working in Vegas a lot, doing things and, being crazy, in my 20s. And I started smoking, I started drinking, I started popping pain pills. I started doing all kinds of crap, again, doing it because what I thought would make me happy didn't make me happy. And now I was doing all this amazing stuff that should make me happy and still wasn't making me happy, So it got me into a place where I was in a very odd place because like you said, I was living this life. Everyone else would say, oh, this is amazing. You're working with so-and-so and you're meeting this person. And you're having, Phyllis Diller cooked us dinner. We went to her house. I mean, stuff like that would happen. Gavin MacLeod became a really good friend of mine from the Love Boat. And we became very close. Just amazing. Like, I remember watching these people as a kid and now I'm doing it, but I'm miserable. Right. So I started looking into why is it that what am I trying to find? Like when something pops up, a feeling, an emotion, what I used to do is it would pop up and I would try to find something that fit that emotion and it would pull me in. Like, oh, I'm feeling uneasy. Well, last time my mind starts working. So what I started to do was I go, look, I'm getting paid to tour the world. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start meeting people. I mean, I'm literally getting paid to be all over the world. So I'm going to start finding people that are in these places I'm going that are doing what I want to do. I'm going to find mind power experts. I'm going to find religious leaders. I'm going to talk to monks. I'm going to talk to meditation teachers. I'm going to do this because I have this opportunity to get paid to do it. So that's what I did. I started learning from people and taking what worked for me. And I would learn different forms of meditation, but I found the one that worked for me. And then I went to the next thing. So while I was living this life, I was miserable at the beginning, but then slowly what started to happen was things started to fall away. Now, and this is what happened. First, I stopped drinking. I didn't have any kind of epiphany. I didn't have I just no longer wanted to drink. Then same thing happened with smoking. I was smoking a pack and a half a day or something. I didn't feel like smoking anymore. The biggest thing that happened to me though was, and this was just a few years ago for this one, but I'm a Midwestern boy from Ohio, a chubby kid. I became a vegetarian. If you would have told me 10 years ago, I would have laughed my ass off because it'd be impossible. But something happened. Just the idea of eating. I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened, but I started bettering myself by touring the world and meeting these amazing people, giving me tips and techniques and different things to try, and then keeping in contact with people. So I really started, I never teach anybody anything I've never done. That doesn't work for me. I don't teach, oh, I heard this works or somebody else is doing this. I went through the trial by fire. I mean, I had cancer. I was all alone in Vegas when I was diagnosed with this. And again, it was a mindset thing because you can look at cancer a couple, oh my God, this is, what am I going to do? This is horrible. And that can start, or you can look at it like, okay, I'm going to attack this thing, but everything is like that. So I started, when I'm working with these famous people, I'm realizing what you said, they're just people. They have problems like everybody else, even though they have such a drive, and it could be even for just wanting to have the adoration. It could be that even, but there's some sort of overreaching drive to prove somebody wrong, drive to get farther than their dad said they could go, whatever that is. They start, but they have nannies and they have business managers and they have people to do all of the things that all of us have to do every day and try to, help ourselves. So it's very hard. Somebody who's a multimillionaire can afford to, pay people to do all the little things. And even then, they don't get, most of them don't get to a spot where they've awakened enough to know, hey, there's a voice talking in my head and I tell people there's a voice talking in your head, but it's not you. It's programming. There's the voice you make talk, and then there's the voice that just starts talking. The one, like I said, it talks about you peeing your pants in third grade, you get embarrassed. That voice you're not doing. It's coming up by itself. So the more I learned this, and I went on meditation retreats, and I meditated with monks, and this monk said to me, I was in Nepal, and I did a 2-week retreat, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a mentalist." "What is that?" "Well, I read minds." Thinking I'm so cool, on stage. He goes, "Think of any word." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Lumberjack." And that was it. That changed my life, because he did for real what I had been pretending to do my whole life, which is, right? He was doing it. And then he didn't tell me at first about, how that was possible. But the more I spent time there and meditating, he started talking about, universal consciousness and how we're all connected to each other. But everyone is so stuck on their own crap that nobody sees past themselves. You're only seeing a reflection of yourself because you've got so much crap in there. And so I started just removing things. It's not about adding anything to your life. It's not. It's about removing all of the crap you've done to yourself. That's all it takes. It doesn't take any sort of going to the Himalaya mountains. And I did all that. I went all around the world, but you don't have to go to India. You don't have to have a guru. You don't have to buy a course. You literally can do this anywhere, but nobody knows how to do it. So I had a great career with famous people. I still do, open here and there for famous people, and it's great, but they're just like we are. And matter of fact, they're usually more screwed up because they don't have to handle all of the stuff that we have to handle, So it was a great time, but again, it's one of those hollow things. There's nothing really to that. It's like all flash. It's all bright, shiny packaging, but there's nothing. When you open it, it's like, there's nothing there. This, when you're teaching people and regular people are emailing you and saying, "This changed my life. I'm doing this now." People with PTSD, people, veterans, war veterans. I've had people come to shows I've done. And I had a lady come once and say, "I saw you on TV. I was doing local media in Cleveland, actually here. I was doing a gig at Hilarities in Cleveland."
Yeah.
So I did Fox 8, which I've done, 100 times. But this morning, this lady watched me, and she came to the show. And after the show, she came up and she said, I don't know why, but something told me to come talk to you. I saw you on TV. I'm a single mother. I've got 4 children. I have stage 4 cancer. It's spread through my body. I'm scared to death. I don't know what to do. Will you talk to me?" And I said, "Of course." So, my crew packed up everything, and I spent an hour and a half with her talking about, you're driving a car. At some point, your car may not be in great shape. You're going to get out of this car and get into another one or whatever you believe. This is not you. The fear that so we went through a lot of stuff. The moral of the story is I heard from her just a couple of months ago. She's still going, she still has cancer. She knows she doesn't have a full life. She's just trying to get one more kid to graduation. But she said, "I don't look at it anymore with the fear." Because I used to have a horrible fear of death ever since I was a kid. That changed when all of this started changing. That was another thing. It's like, this is amazing, really. The one thing that we all want to know, what happens when you die? You are going to have a front row seat to that. You're going to see it for yourself. That's amazing. That's exciting. And so it took that fear of death away. I feel I gave her some of that as well, because it was like, she now purpose was the kids, getting the kids through high school and out into the world. She's still, the cancer's there. She's still doing chemo, but her mindset is different. Now, I don't know if the mindset has made her live 4 years, 5 years, but I mean, stage 4 cancer, but the fear is crippling. The fear, the anxiety. Think about it. We're stressed out all the time. We're having heart attacks and strokes because of the anxiety we are creating. So just getting rid of that from your life can extend your life, can help you in ways, you can't imagine, because it's totally a mindset thing. It's totally a mindset game.
Such good stuff. Thanks for sharing those stories. Really appreciate you kind of walking through the background. Before we dive into kind of the specifics around mindset and changing of mindset, there's a couple of topics I wanted to talk about with you, and they're closely related. One of them is the victim mentality, which drives me fucking insane. It is a choice to be a victim. Even if someone has done something really bad to you, you're still choosing to act like a victim after that has happened to you. And that drives me nuts. And I'd love to get your perspective on that. And then the second one is worrying what other people think about you. Like, I was fortunate that I was born, I call it being born without the give a fuck gene. I don't give a fuck what people think about me.
I don't anymore. Yeah.
It's funny because when I met my wife and I had been married for 32 years. And when we first got together, I told her that. I said, look, you should just know I really don't care what people think about me. So that makes some people uncomfortable. I don't care if it makes them uncomfortable. And so we'd been together for a couple of years, and she said, you really don't give a fuck what people think about you, huh? And I said, no, like, I'm not. And I don't go out of my way to be irritating to people or to get in confrontations with people. I don't at all. I do the opposite. I try to be respectful to people. I try to get along with people, but I'm not going to lie. And, you know, I'm the guy that would have said, look, the emperor's naked. I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. That guy's got no clothes on. I don't know what you're all talking about, but I can see his junk. So something's wrong here. I'd love to just hear your perspective on those two things before we die. I want to talk about some specific mindset things, and you've talked about some of them already, but before we get into those, I'd love to talk about those two topics, if you don't mind.
Victim mentality is so rampant that everyone just believes that it's necessary. I mean, that it's almost necessary, because most people would rather live in a comfortable bad situation than the unknown. So even in misery, that a lot of that misery is comfort, because at least you know it's a misery that you know. But victim mentality, I tell people, the very first thing I do in my show is I say, look, just what you said, it doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter what happened to you, but if it's still happening to you and it's no longer happening, in reality, that is you holding it in there. You're doing that to yourself. Okay. And I'm not saying anything that I didn't do. I mean, we all do it because you think it's the way to do it. Your parents did it. You know, when I was in school, in elementary school, I had a bright moment once when the teacher said to me, Brent, you need to focus. And I was smart enough to say, when did we learn to focus? And then she said, you know what? You're right. I never learned to focus either. It's something people, you know, we had a discussion about it. I'm in like 4th grade at the time, but it's true. You have the most amazing supercomputer ever devised. Consciousness. I mean, everything comes from consciousness. Whatever you believe in, God, the universe, that is consciousness. We all come from it. We're all connected by it. Okay. It's an unbelievable power. You've got the most incredible supercomputer ever devised. Scientists can't tell you how it works. They don't know how thoughts work. They don't know what is going on up there, right? But when you buy a cell phone, when you buy a toaster, when you buy a microwave, when you buy a TV, you get a huge instruction manual. It tells you everything about it, right? Here you are born with the most sophisticated super machine ever devised. And it's like, man, you're completely on your own. Not only are you on your own, we don't even know how to use it. Like, the parents don't know how to use it. So victim mentality, it's that sounds like people say, oh, you're blaming. You know, that's not what that is. That term, if you're a victim by something that you've done, that is an amazing thing, because that means you are the only person that can drag you out of it. No one else. Nothing on the outside. And that's what I learned early on. The houses, the cars, the other people, the smaller butt, the thinner person, that is not going to do it. But that's what we do. And then what happens is we don't get that thing, or we get it and we're slightly happy, but then we go to the next thing. And so we're on a hamster wheel our entire lives, where happiness is ahead of us and we're thinking it's in the outer world, we're chasing it. That gives us that victim mentality, because people like to they take their pain and they like to justify it. And when you justify your pain, you are cementing that victim mentality, because you're saying, there's a reason I have it. I should have this. I'm allowed to have this. He did this. You know, I've had people come to me and say, you know, I divorced my husband 20 years ago, but I'm still thinking about them every day. Well, you didn't divorce them. You know, they are still in your mind. They're still living in there. You've got to break yourself out of that. So victim mentality is, you got to get to the point where you have enough lucidity to go, look, I did this. The first 8 years of my life, this is how it works. First 8 years of your life, you program yourself. And that means everything you see, everything you do, everything you like, everything you hate, everything you learn. So if you have a bad set of parents or you have something that is going to color everything. But it's those first 8 years. That means you're not logical. You're not mature. You're certainly not an adult. But about 8.5, that tape stops. It's like you have a tape recording on your mind and it's recording everything. It stops about 8.5. And for the rest of your life, when you're on autopilot, that is what is running in your head. Whatever that tape is, made when you were not mature, you were a kid, you could have been in survival mode, that tape is going to be your life unless you change it. That's the tape that's running up there. I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too ugly. I'm too this. People like me can't have money. Whatever it is that voice is saying, you are programmed into your DNA with it. So, the victim mentality we can break out of. The second thing you talked about, the worrying what others think. I wasn't there when I was young, but I am definitely with you now. It took me a long time. I mean, as an entertainer, you want, applaud me. You have something, you have some deep desire or need to get in front of people. And because most people, it's literally what Seinfeld used to say, the number one fear, is death. And the number two fear is public speaking. Right? No, the number one fear is public speaking. The number two fear is death. So you would rather be the person in the casket than the person giving the eulogy. That was his joke. Right? But people are deathly afraid of that. Man, I found every opportunity to get it in front of people. So there's something, I'm lacking there. But when you start worrying about what everyone thinks, and again, it's programmed into us since a very young age. One thing I always tell people is a great way to get control of this, or at least to see it, is you go, I like this expansion theory, and it works like this. You right now watching us, we're all together. We're on a planet, a giant rock that is floating in outer space. Okay. There's nothing around it for thousands of miles. There is nothing. And a matter of fact, we've sent all kinds of probes and we've never found anything, not anything alive anywhere else. I mean, can you imagine being on Saturn or being anywhere else? You're here in Disneyland. You can be anything you want to be. There's everything. There's animals. There's trees. It's unbelievable. Think about it. How often do you say thank you? Do you show gratitude for the fact that you hit the lottery by being born on the planet Earth? Okay, so this is what I tell people. It's like you're on a planet in the middle of spinning in outer space. What are you doing? You're worried what Mary thinks of your dress. You spilled ketchup on your pants and now you don't want to go back to work. You have a car that's not new. So now you're worried what the neighbors are going to think because they just got a new car. That's what you're doing with yourself. So if you take the big picture, and it works with everything. Like when I'm working cruises, I'm heading out on a cruise next week. You have to do boat drills. Okay. It's 100 degrees. I'm out in Bermuda doing a boat drill and the little voice, which I have it so great. It hardly talks, but every once in a while, when something really has pushed me, it will start to talk. Okay. And it's saying, my God, what are you doing out here? Don't they know who you are? It's so hot. Why are you doing this? But the other voice, that's the voice you make talk. Okay, that's programming, the first voice. But you're the consciousness. I mean, you are the overseer. You're not the voice that's talking. Otherwise, you would know it's talking. And we'll get into that because that's really the first thing is awareness. But once you realize, okay, this voice is talking in my head. This voice is not me. I'm the consciousness, right? You start to go. I started going, look, why is it hot? Okay, 93 million miles away, there's a star. It's not even they call it the sun, but it's a star. So I'm not getting sunburn, I'm getting star burn, right? This star is so hot, even though it's 93 million miles away, I can feel the heat from it. That's a miracle, right? It turns it completely around from I'm miserable, I'm outside, why am I doing this? To holy crap, I am on a planet in the middle of nowhere and I can feel rays of a star that is 93 million miles away. That's incredible. And so again, you look at the big picture and that takes that idea of worrying what Mary thinks, worrying what, so-and-so thinks. I was with a guy in LA once and we were walking down the street. This is back in the day when they had newsstands. And he goes, oh, I got to get a paper. I go here every day. He goes over to the newsstand. He's like, hey, Bill, how are you? Yeah. The guy was just so rude to him. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. He left. And I said, my God, that guy is so why do you even go there and buy a paper? Why? He goes, why should I let him ruin my day? Like, why that really like set off bells, because that's what we do. One thing goes wrong. The guy in front of you is driving too slow. Your whole day goes, you get up in the morning, you hit your toe, and all of a sudden the whole day goes right down the shitter, because, that's what happens. It's like one little thing. And that was a light bulb moment. Why do I care? Why does this matter? Carl Sagan did a video once where one of the rovers that went out turned around and took a photo of Earth from whatever, hundreds of thousands of miles away. It's just a tiny marble, Yep. And he was narrating this video saying, dictators of the world, no one cares. No one will remember you. It doesn't matter. Everything you think matters doesn't mean a thing. If the Earth blew up, a few planets may shift their orbit slightly, but the universe will not even be affected by it. Yet you're upset over the littlest, tiniest thing. And what we do is we take that and it goes from one thing to the next. So once you start breaking free of that, the idea of people pleasing becomes so against what you're going to want to do that it almost becomes fun. It becomes like a game. The guy in front of you is driving too slow. Instead of going, oh my God, I got to get to work. What is he doing? And you're yelling and screaming and he's completely oblivious, right? You go, okay, man, he's driving really slow. Hey, drive slower. Let's see how slow you can go. Instead of getting sucked into it, because what happens then is, you get to work, you're mad about it. Oh, this guy, you wouldn't believe it. Telling people about it could lead to road rage. If you're that kind of person, those things don't matter. So once you start letting go of the little ones, like it's too hot today, it's raining today, and I'm going on a picnic. God hates me. I've heard that. The universe is out to get me because it's raining on my birthday. Give me a break. So you let go of these little things. All these big things you've stored can come back up, and you will not be trying to please people anymore, because you'll see that it's an illusion. None of that stuff matters. The outer world, where, hey, it's great, but the inner world is what matters. Jesus said, the kingdom is within you. Buddha said, every religious text talks about going in, not searching in the outer world for things, things, what is it? Things made of brass and gold can be destroyed, whatever. It's what you have inside, but none of us want to look. We're all afraid of that thing, of what's going on in there. You've got a voice in your head that is so diabolical that it tells people to kill themselves. Nobody has ever committed suicide without that voice saying, I can't take this. Why are we even living? Think about it. That's how much of an enemy that voice can become. It's the one thing in the entire universe, which is you, that knows everything you've ever done, all the embarrassing things no one ever caught you doing, right? And it will use them against you at the earliest opportunity. It will say those things. So you've got to start to realize, okay, I've got to forget about pleasing people out there, and I got to start going in and figuring out why I'm trying to please these people, why I want to be rich, why I want, the wedding in Maui. Because that's not what you want. You want to be happy. You want to be okay inside. None of us are okay. We have so much crap. So it's like, that's what you really want, to be okay. If you were okay, you wouldn't need all the things you're trying to attract to yourself, the Ferrari and the $1 million.
Oh, man, well said. You touched on it, and I talk about this a lot. There's been thousands of interviews and studies done on people's last thoughts right before they pass away, and they know they're going to pass away. So, they talk to people that provide palliative care, and, there's people that are bedside asking questions, and they never, and I rarely make global statements, but I'll make that one. They never regret things they did. What they regret is things they did not do. Yep. I wish I would have spent more time with people I cared about. I wish I would have been more open with my emotions. I wish I would have had the courage to live the life I wanted to live instead of the life other people thought I should live. And the reason for that is your mind is really good at processing outcomes. So when you take an action, you get an outcome and you can live with that outcome. Even if it's a shitty outcome, you find a way to get good with it over a period of time. Even if it takes a while to get there, you get there. When you pass an opportunity or don't do something that you feel strongly about, you create this infinite universe of possibilities that your mind can never reconcile. It can never bring it to a conclusion. So it just keeps coming up and it just keeps churning and it just keeps eating at you. So my point to my long-winded diatribe there is I always tell people, go sing fucking karaoke Friday night. Who cares if you sing bad? Nobody cares.
Right.
Ask the girl out if you want to ask her out. If she says no, oh well, ask a different girl out.
Make yourself do it. That's what you have to do, because you have free will. People think, oh, I've heard people say, oh, it's all predetermined. That's bullshit. You have free will, but you do. But it's what I say to those people. That free will.
You know what I say to those people? I noticed that you look both ways before you cross the street. So if it's all predetermined, why not just walk across the street, you fucking liar? Like I've heard that before too, and it's bullshit. It's total bullshit.
You have free will. You have the ability to, you are the consciousness. And like I said, we touched on this, but you have to understand you are the awareness. You're not this meat body. It's like, this is a meat robot that's down here on this planet. Imagine it's like a Mars rover. In order to be up on Mars, you have to be inside of the rover going around, okay? Right. The voice that talks just by itself is programming. The voice that you can make talk. Like if I say to you guys right now, I want you to hear the word house in your head. You can hear that. You can make that voice say that. Those are two distinctly different things. If you're trying to figure out something from your past, you're trying to do mathematics or something, you've got the rational mind. But then you've got this, it's not subconscious. There really is no subconscious. What the subconscious is a part of the mind where you created a false version of yourself, everything that scares you, everything that makes you happy, everything people said that hurt you, everything that they said that made you feel good. And that part is what, you're living through the lens of that. The real you is the consciousness, the soul. Instead of being a body with a soul, you're a soul with a body. Because again, if you didn't know what the voice was saying, right? You're not the voice because it's talking. And that's what happens when you start to separate yourself and go, okay, there's a voice talking in my head, but that voice is not me. For most people, it narrates your life. Hey, look at that dog over there. That looks like the dog I had when I was 4 years old. Think of everything all day long. Like, why is it doing that? It's doing that because you programmed it to do that. Okay. And so over time, what happens is something happens to you. I always tell people, my dad was deathly afraid of snakes. One thing in his entire life, okay? But that one thing controlled his life. And that's one thing. We do it with everything. If you imagine you're 3 years old, you see a rattlesnake somewhere out in the bushes, scares the hell out of you, okay? Now you start to get a complex about snakes. Nobody can talk about snakes. Nobody can take you to the reptile house at the zoo. You can't walk down the road and see a coiled up rope or hose or something because it makes you think of a snake. You're at a birthday party, somebody yells cake, you think they say snake, you get all clammy. That's one thing. We do it with everything because what you're doing with that willpower is you're suppressing things. Something happens. You don't want it to happen. You don't like it. Okay. You would think if there's something happening I don't like, I would not take it in and hold it, but that's what you do. You take it in, you're holding that energy. And now every time anything remotely close to it happens, it comes back up, right? And not only do the thoughts come back, all of the feeling comes rushing back too. You break up with your girlfriend. It was horrible, right? Horrible breakup. You loved her so much. She drives a red Mazda pickup truck. Every time now you see a red Mazda pickup truck, you get sick in the stomach, you get flushed, right? No red pickup truck is doing that to you. You've programmed yourself, the energy you feel when amazing things happen. This was another thing the monk taught me, which I was just blown away by. But what you feel when something incredible happens, first kiss, brand new car, that shuddery electric feeling of that energy that comes up, it's not the situation that is giving it to you. That energy is always running, but you've blocked it. It's now for once your blockages have aligned where you're feeling the energy for one of the few times in your life. It's not going to last, but that's what it is. So again, it's not again with the girlfriend. Now, say you're depressed, you can't get out of bed, you've been in bed for a month, you got pizza boxes everywhere, you are so sad, you haven't showered, you look like crap, you are depressed. The phone rings. You look at the caller ID, it's your ex-girlfriend. You pick up the phone. She says, I am so sorry. I made the worst mistake of my life. I was just scared. I love you so much. Can I come see you? What happens? The depressed person who couldn't move, the house is filthy, now jumps up, gets to the shower, shaves himself, cleans up the house. Where did that energy come from? The girl didn't give it to you. The phone didn't give it to you. You gave it to you. You allowed it to release. When I learned that you've got a river of energy inside you, but you've blocked it. That changed it, because it's like, okay, I get it now. That feeling is always there, but I'm equating it to, okay, I felt it when I got a car, so I must have to get another car to feel that. I felt it when I had this first kiss. And it's not just things that you dislike, like the snake, it is the things you like. Something great happens, you hold that in too, right? And it becomes a negative, because the next time it happens, you want it to happen just like that. Or, you start to, even the positives over time become negatives, because you want everything to be like that. You have a great dinner somewhere, everything's perfect. You take all your friends back to that restaurant, never going to be the same. Chef's different time, different music, something's different. Now it's not the same. And so that positive experience is now negative for you. We store those. And I always tell people, and I do a seminar and I tell people, how many of those things do you think you have? And 5, 20, thousands of them. You've done it with everything. I like this color. I mean, people argue about painting the kitchen white. There are 800 different whites. You have a husband and wife arguing about one different shade of white. That's the kind of stuff that's going on, right? So again, it's just you. You are the person in there. You're the only one that can fix this. You're the one that can get in there and change this, but you've got to do it. You've got to start making those moves. You have to forgive yourself. You've given everybody else. It's like you've given everyone third chances, fifth chances, 384th chances. How about yourself? How about giving yourself another chance? You've written yourself off decades ago and you've said, oh, it's over for me. I've had 90-year-old people, 80-year-old people who say, oh, it's over. I can't. Are you kidding me? Until that moment that you're on your deathbed, that last moment, it's not too late. Because wouldn't you like to live life the way it's supposed to be, without the anxiety, without the stress, without the worry, without the trying to plan it out and figure out how it's going to be, and just live life like it is? Because, man, it doesn't matter how old you are. I would just take 1 minute of that. If I could do it, I don't care how old I am. You can do this. It just takes some structure. It takes structure to start moving into these things.
Yeah, I always say I don't want to live as long as I can. What I say is I don't want to be as alive. I don't want to be alive for as long as I can. I want to live for as long as I can. When I'm not living, there's no point in me existing. I want to live. So you had talked earlier about, so you lay down this bass track, let's call it, until you're about 8.5, and then it runs in the background. And then we have experiences that we accumulate and kind of stack on top of it. Let's say we get whatever. Let's say, so I'm 53, but let's say I'm 35 years old and I go, hey, I'm going about this wrong. I want to start making some changes. And this mindset thing Brent's talking about sounds pretty good to me. How do I do it? Like, how do I get started on it? What are the approaches that I can take to reprogram my mindset to live the life I'm interested in living?
Great question. What I tell people is, again, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to buy any kind of special equipment. You have everything you need right now. Okay. It really is an easy thing. It takes becoming aware of what's going on. That's the first thing, because before you're going to be able to fix it, you have to know what is going on up there. So I teach a couple of very easy things. Okay. Again, I talk about the ABCs of mind power in my show. I'm entertaining them even on a cruise ship, but I'm still talking about these ABCs of mind power. The A is awareness. You're the awareness, right? So it's kind of a twofold thing. It's you're aware, you're the awareness, but you also have to become aware of what that tape is doing, what it's saying, what's running in the background. So I tell people this. first thing you do, and it sounds cheesy, but I did this first 15 years ago, and so many people have done it, and it really works, is you name that voice. Not the voice that you create, but the voice that just starts talking, the talky voice. You name it. You give it a name, like it's a person, okay? Because first of all, I call it sometimes the bitchy roommate. You're trapped in here with this roommate, right? If this was real life and you had somebody living in your house who was constantly telling you how stupid you were, ugly you were, dumb you were, why things wouldn't work, blah, 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 how long would you listen to that?
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Very
right?
long, but you listen to it your whole life. Not only do you listen to it, you let it give you advice. Then that advice doesn't work. It gives you the opposite advice. You take that. It doesn't know what it's doing, right? So you name the voice. I named mine Carl a long time ago. And I've had people, Esmeralda, Susan, whatever, you name it. Because what happens is that little tiny difference, that change there. Next time that voice starts talking, if you have the wherewithal to go, hey, there goes Carl again. And you will. What happens is not only do you start to separate from that voice, but it becomes funny. The power drains away because you realize it's not the voice of God. It's not the booming voice of the future. It's programming. It's the past. It's old, rusty programming that you put in there. And I look at it like a child, a petulant child who's not getting their way. Now he's freaking out and you go, oh, there goes Carl again. Oh, poor Carl. Seriously, that shift changes it because it's like, okay, you're separating yourself. So you name it. Now, whenever it starts talking, you go, there's Carl, there's whoever. Okay. The second part of this, you get some Post-it notes. Okay. You get some Post-it notes. I always say about 20 of them. You get a marker and you write the name of the voice. So Carl, in my case, on these Post-it notes. I'm going to take these Post-it notes. I'm going to place them all over the house, at the office, in the car, in the closet, in places I don't even go very often sometimes. And for the next week, all I want you to do is you get a little pad, little spiral pad, little pencil, get a golf pencil. I always carry a golf pencil around with me. For a week, you're going to just have that in your pocket or in your purse. And anytime you're going through your day and you see that note, that's a trigger. What's on my mind right now? That's how you're going to start to figure out what the tape's saying. Because soon as you see that, that's, okay, what's my mind? And you're going to get the trail end of whatever's going on up there. All you got to do is write it down. You don't talk about it. You don't get pulled into it. You don't fight with it. You don't wonder, why am I thinking that? You just write it down. You do that for 7 days. 7 days is all it takes. If you do it, every time that you see that at the end of 7 days, now go back and read that notebook. Read what you wrote down, and you are going to see the most screwed up, unbelievable, unhelpful bunch of BS you have ever read in your life. Because again, you were not logical. You were not mature. You were a child when that tape was made. So again, you start to get that starts to separate you. So that's the first thing. It's becoming aware. Okay. If you really want to do this, all it takes is a little bit of your time. It doesn't cost you anything. Matter of fact, it will give you everything. You know, it's one of those things I tell people all the time. If you had something that was like, what are they, the cost benefit analysis,
yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. If it's giving you absolutely zero benefit and it's all cost, who's going for that deal? But you do it all the time. So it's like, that will start to give you, okay, now I've got some footing. Things happen. You'll start to see something happens that usually triggers you, that makes you upset. Somebody comes up to you. You know, I have relatives like that. They just used to trigger me. Immediately they would say something and I'd be in it. I'd be fighting with them. They say something and it's like it's talking about Rocky again. Because I love Rocky. I love all the Rocky movies and Creed movies. But you know, you go into slow-mo, you go into the zone, you go into something where it's happening. And now you're in a position of going, do I want to get pulled into this? You're no longer pulled into it immediately. And the next thing you know, it's a week later and you've been unconscious. Now it's like, is this worth my peace? That's what I tell people. If you can give yourself enough time to say, is this worth my peace? That's all it takes. But it will slow. It seems like time slows because the more that you start to work with this, and I've had people tell me, my God, something happened to me today. I didn't even realize it till I got home, but something happened to me at work today that used to just bother me. And it happened. And I didn't even realize it happened until I got home because it just falls away. So that starts to happen. That awareness starts to give you belief. It starts to give you, okay, there is something here. You get this, I call it rocket fuel for the soul. You get these little bursts of, oh, this is proof. This is happening. And it starts to separate you. It's like, that tape you have running up there. It's like now you're recording. Remember when you used to take a tape and you would record over it? You go on the radio, you record. That's what you're doing. You're taking this old rusty tape and bit by bit, you're putting little new pieces, positive things, good things. Not, I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too ugly. Why did my sister get the bicycle and I didn't? I mean, seriously, people are in their 60s and they're still upset. They don't talk to their sister. They don't, when they see bicycles, they get upset. That kind of thing will hold on to you forever if you don't get rid of it. So that awareness is like a superpower. Because soon as you become aware, wow, this thing is not making any sense. You never paid attention to it before. It just talked and you went with it. That will start to pull you out of it. And then we go on from there to belief and the other things we can talk about. But that's the first thing, becoming aware of it. And it gives you an immense amount of control that you never thought you had. You start to feel that rush, that, that energy. It gives you that power.
So, it's funny because this is something I've done for a while, and it's not a part of any grander scheme, but I always tell people that when I'm hung up on something or there's something that's affecting the way I'm thinking, I try to think the opposite. And what I mean by that is, like you talked about. So I get caught in traffic, or I miss every light, or the Wi-Fi is moving slow, or all these little things that are irritating me. The person next to me is chewing loud or whatever, right? There's all these little things that drive us nuts. Look, it made Jerry Seinfeld a billionaire. He made a show about this shit, and good for him. Like, that's great. But when you're stuck in those, I say, go high, go to the big picture and think about all the good things that you have in your life. So for me, I'm like, hey, you know what? I met my wife so young in my life, and we've been able to have such a great fucking life together. I've been in a relationship for 32 years that most people never get. I'm on house money at this point. I've got 3 great kids. I've got people around me that care about me. There's literally never been a better time to be a human being on the earth than the time we're living in right now. It is by far, by every metric, the best time to be alive. And I think it's important to realize, because we're recording this right after this terrible Charlie Kirk incident out in Utah, and there's all this division in the country and all of these things. With all of that said, it's way better to be, and we're in the best country in the world right now. And I know that's probably not a popular thing to say, but it's the truth. This is the only country that tens of millions of people are trying to get into. That's just not happening anywhere else. Life expectancy is higher than it's ever been. There's never been a time in human history when more people live above the poverty line than they do right now. There's more people with access to electricity, to running water, to medical care. It's never been as good as it is right now. There's never been less war than there is right now. And you're worried about this fucking guy cutting you off in traffic? What's the matter with you? I say that to myself. You know what I mean?
That's great. That's great. I mean, Yogananda was a mystic from India who came over at the turn of the last century, but was a great master, somebody who could, almost go into samadhi at will, go into that, where you're just in pure bliss all the time, And one of the things he would teach was the opposite. So it'd be like, if you have a thought that goes, why am I, oh God, I'm too fat. You go, hey, I look great for my, you do the opposite, because it's just a habit. And even though you don't believe it, you don't at the beginning. I always tell people, the thing I love is when people say, fake it till you make it. And they think that means I'm going to buy a fake Rolex and I'm going to rent a Mercedes and I'm going to make people think I'm rich until I'm rich. But I think what fake it till you make it means is you start acting like the person you want to be. You start feeling that way. You start moving towards it. And guess what? You become that person. You start thinking like them. That is how you fake it till you make it. You might not believe it at the beginning. You're saying stuff to yourself. I don't believe this. But over time, you are, again, regrooving that record. So if that's the opposite is a thing. So taking the big picture is the thing that works. If you're one of those people, take the opposite, okay, of whatever you're thinking. There's also people who blow it out of proportion. In other words, oh God, I'm going to be late for work. And you're all anxiety. And then it becomes, I'm going to be late for work. then I'm going to get fired, then I'm going to be living in the street, and then a dog's going to come, and we're going to be fighting over friends. And you take it to such an absurd that it becomes laughable. Those are 3 ways to do it. And you can use a mixture of the 3 or try one, or that's all up to you. The great thing about this is you make it your own. There's no system that says do this, this, and this. It's very broad. Become aware of what's going on in your mind. What is the voice saying? Start to get control of it. Start to realize you have more control in this outer world than you think, but it's the inner world where you have your real control. And so then everything else starts to come into play. The belief, all of that. So if the opposite works for you, that's great. I mean, I do that a lot too. Sometimes I will I'll go, how do I know the reason I got stopped at this red light? Maybe I would have been in an accident had I gone farther. Maybe something, you don't know that. So you can take that as well. But all you've got to do is be grateful that you're on this planet that is the Disney World of the universe. It's like, imagine there's aliens from another planet somewhere, right? They come over here and the ship's hovering, and the leader goes, okay, I'm going to send you down there, and you can be anything you want to be. There's water, water pours from the sky. You put a seed in the ground and a corn stalk appears with dirt and sun and water. Oh, and if the crops are inland, somehow the water comes over and pours. I mean, think about this. It's got an irrigation system. So you start looking at the miracle that is surrounding you. That also, it's like, why, I have nothing to be grateful for. People say that all the time. You got up this morning, or I love it when they'll go, I'm so upset. My car wouldn't start, and they're yelling. Okay, it started yesterday. Were you grateful that your car started yesterday? Did you say thank you? Was there any gratitude? No, you just expect all of that to happen, right? So you start to gain a compassion for yourself that you've never had before. You start to look at yourself differently and realize, this is a fake version of me, and I'm trying to be this person, and my whole life is this. It's a full-time job to go out in the world and try to make everybody. We look at a relationship with a significant other. Most people are looking at the other person to give them what they need, not I love myself, they love their self, we're in love now. No. In order for me to get love from you, you've got to do all these things I like, and I'm going to try to do all the things you like, and then our effed up stuff is going to somehow fit together. But, that then becomes dependent on someone else. If they die, if they leave you, it's over for you, right? You can't put happiness in another person, in another place, in another thing, in anything outside of you. The kingdom really is within you. And until you start looking inside, you're never going to find it. It's going to be elusive forever because it's not out there. And people go all over the world, do crazy, amazing things, but you're not going to find it out there. You're going to find it in here.
It's so funny too, because like literally every truly happy person I know or I've talked to, their locus of control is internal. I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for my reactions. But the way they interact with the world, they think about it in terms of what can I do for other people? And that includes making money. Because like the people that get truly rich solve other people's problems. The people that get wealthy, they solve other people's problems or society's problems. Perfect example, Bill Gates, right? So he saw that computers were coming out and he solved the problem of the operating system for everybody, and it made him a billionaire. It may not seem like much, but he was passionate about it. It meant a lot to him, and he was in the right place at the right time. He capitalized on the opportunity, and there you go. Now, even with that said, like that guy's been divorced. He's got his own problems. It's not just awesome to be Bill Gates. Bill Gates has just as many problems. I would argue has bigger problems than most people, but he doesn't have to worry about paying for dinner tonight. And people like think that's the best thing ever, that simply because he doesn't have to worry about paying his electric bill, somehow his life is better than yours. And it's just not true. He's got his own problems, just like everybody does. And I think people don't understand that well at all. Like you talked about Jim Carrey. I've heard that Jim Carrey quote before as well, too. I wish everyone could be rich so they'd see it doesn't solve any of the problems or make you anything that you think it makes you, because it doesn't.
And they just want more. What this creates, okay, I have $1 million, now I want 2 million. That's not enough. Now I want a bigger boat. I need 4 million. It becomes a never-ending thing, and it also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're constantly putting your happiness in attaining something, and that disappears and you have to go after the next thing. So you're just doing it for the rest of your life. So that's absolutely right. I mean, you're so right there. I love that, because most people they do think that way. It's so true.
Yeah. So after we do the awareness and we kind of go through this process, what are some of the techniques you can use to reframe these things or reprogram the supercomputer that is your brain so that you control it and it's not controlling you?
Well, after the awareness comes belief, and the belief is nobody has ever done anything great without self-belief. I mean, unless they fell ass backwards into some, money pit, it doesn't happen. Because, and I always tell people at my shows, how many of you, and I ask them to raise their hand, and it's almost everyone. I'll say, how many of you know somebody who is super successful, okay, and has very high self-esteem, confidence, but that will always trump somebody who doesn't have any confidence, even if they have amazing talent. That will never be as good as having confidence in yourself. Okay. It doesn't matter how big your talent is, without the self-confidence, the magnetism that people walk into a room and they don't have to be the best looking person. There's something about them. You go, wow, that you're attracted to that, because that person has what you want, which is love, which is they're content with themselves. Nobody's content with themselves. You don't have to look like Brad Pitt. You just have to be sure of yourself. Now, there are people who have an overabundance of self-confidence, but even those people are always more successful than somebody with amazing talent, but no self-confidence, because you need that belief in yourself. So when you start to become aware and you do the little things, you name it, you put the Post-it notes up, you get some idea of what it's saying, the belief will come automatically. Again, there's no, you have to do this to create this, and you have to chant this, and there's no kind of magic here. What happens is the belief will come back as soon as you start to become aware that it's all BS going on up there, that you've done this to yourself. So you start to believe again. You start to believe, maybe it's possible. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I need to look at my old goals and see what's left there that I should follow now. It appears magically, that belief. And again, like rocket fuel, it starts to push you. The belief, the awareness, that's great. But if you stopped there, you are so close. You're literally an inch from it, because the C is connection. And this is really the most important thing, but you can't do it first. And that is, again, it's two prongs. We're connected to each other, you and I, you and anybody watching, all of us together. There's universal consciousness that we're all connected to, but then there's our individual consciousness. We all have one that's all about us. It's all about, I want this, I don't want that, what are the neighbors going to think, blah, 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 blah. That's going on. That is keeping you from connecting to anything bigger, because it's just your whole life is you're looking down as the consciousness, but you're looking through all of this crap and seeing reality. So you're never going to be able to break through that. What starts to happen is in order to break through, you have to meditate. You have to do something where you're sitting every day silently with yourself. You can call it what you want. Meditation, you call it prayer, you can chant, you can do whatever it is, but you have to sit every day alone, no noise, nothing going on, and be quiet with yourself. And again, I'll teach something here in a second that I teach everyone, super easy meditation technique there. And I've done them all. I learned transcendental meditation. I've paid for all the classes. I know all the different meditation techniques. I know what works for me, but you have to sit twice a day. You have to make it. People say, why do I have to do morning and evening at about the same time every day? Is it like it's a magical spell or something? No, you're showing this is important. You are giving it priority. You're saying, I'm going to do this twice a day, because again, you're programming this thing. You want to reprogram this thing, right? You're the guy that smokes. Okay. And I remember how it is to smoke. Well, when you're a smoker and you want to quit smoking, if you start from the beginning of the chain, you have to go find the cigarettes. You have to open the pack. You have to put the cigarette in your mouth. You have to get the matches or the lighter. You have to light it. You have to inhale it. If you don't do any of those things, any one, you're not going to smoke anymore. That's what you're doing, though, when you're creating this ability in your mind to focus, when you're doing that with meditation. So I tell people you sit cross-legged, get on the floor, or sit in a chair. It's fine too, a straight back chair. Feet flat on the floor, your hands on your knees. Take a couple of very deep breaths in and out, in through your nose, out through your mouth. All you're going to do for 20 minutes or 15 minutes. To start, though, do 3 minutes, because I don't want you to stop doing it because you say, I can't do it. And people come up to me all the time. I can't do it. My mind wouldn't stop talking. Man, I bow to you, because that's exactly, you're realizing you're the consciousness and the voice won't stop talking. Amazing. You've done it. No, it's not that you can't do it. You have to do it. It takes repetition. So you sit there and all you do is you count 1 to 20 over and over. And this is why you do it. You're giving that lower mind a very easy job. Okay. It's counting. At a certain point, you will transcend it. It's exactly what transcendental meditation does. In that, you're chanting, you're doing a mantra in your mind. And over time, you drift away from that mantra, you transcend the mind. The same thing happens here. You give the bottom lower mind a very easy job. It's counting, okay? And then what happens is, and the reason 20 is perfect, I've tried it with different numbers. 20 is perfect, because what will happen is it'll look like this, okay? Your eyes are closed, your hands are on your knees, and silently in your head, you've got this. 1, 2, 3, 4. God, my ass is sore. Why am I even sitting? As soon as you realize that, you go right back to 1. This is the greatest trick in the universe, because what it does, it creates unbelievable focus. That's what focus is. It's pulling back focus from consciousness wants to look over here, pull it back. If you do that, I don't care. People say, I meditated for 5 minutes and I must have done that 200 times. Great. Because every time you do that, it's not in vain. Every time you're gaining something, you're gaining a little bit of focus, you're gaining a little more focus. So, if you're doing that 1, 2, you're counting, all of a sudden 52, 50, you've gone too far, go right back to 1. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't do anything. Never get involved with what that voice is saying, because it's never going to say, that lower voice is never going to say anything that you need to hear. You don't. It's the higher voice is fine, but the little lower voice that's like the bitchy roommate, it's never going to say anything that you need to follow. So don't worry about it. But 1 to 20, over and over and over, the alarm goes off, you're done. Do that in the morning, 3 minutes. Do it in the evening, 3 minutes. Early evening, I tell people, because what starts to happen is you start to get that energy rush. And if you do it right before bed, people will say, I can't sleep. I couldn't sleep last night because, okay, do it a little earlier. Do it early evening, okay? But I think people do it at like 5 in the morning and then lunchtime, and then they have the second half of their business day, they've got all this energy, okay? Because it does. It puts you in a position that 99.999% of people have ever been in, where you are quiet within yourself. It doesn't matter what the voice is saying. You're not allowing yourself to get pulled into it, okay? You're pulling back your focus. Now, this is what creates that moment where something happens and it starts to slow down, and you're now in a power position. Normally somebody says this thing and it pisses you off, you get sucked into it, and it's a week later and you wake up and go, oh my God, I've been unconscious. I've been thinking, oh, I'll wait till I see her. I know people that go, oh, wait till I see her next. They're driving. I'll wait till I see her next time. I'm going to say this and this, and then she's going to say this, and then they're literally having a fake argument in their head, and they're playing both parts. That's the stuff we do. Your mind will drive you nuts about everything and anything if you let it. Meditation starts to separate you from that. It starts to give you space, breaks in the tape. Every time you do that, you're getting more and more power, more and more focus, and things will happen. And now they will not pull you in. The bigger things that used to pull you in, that won't bother you as much. And then the big things you've stored in there, the stuff, what do they call them? The peak experiences or whatever it is that you built on, those will come up. Eventually, those are going to come up. Those are the ones that are, I always say, running your life, but put an I in there. They're ruining your life, because your whole life is controlled by that.
Right.
So once that program comes up, you're almost, there's no better thing to do than make it your goal, your hobby. to get rid of the stuff that's in you. That's all you gotta, don't, hey, go out and golf if you like golfing, put together miniature boats, have whatever it is you want, but why not give yourself 6 minutes a day start, right? That can change everything without buying anything, going anywhere, doing anything outside of you. I mean, if somebody was selling you this and saying it's going to transform your life, you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do it, come on. But it's free. And it's almost because it's free, people look past it because they don't think it's that easy. It is. It's literally everything. I don't care what they teach you. You can go to see Tony Robbins and you're walking on hot coals and you feel like you can do anything. Tell me what happens when you go back to work Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Are you still all hyped up and ready? No, you're not, because he got you in this state, but that state goes away. This state never goes away. You build it within yourself. It's your house. You've got the blinds closed in there, and then you wonder why there's no light. Guess what? Start twisting those blinds open. You have the power to do that. So the awareness creates the belief. Once you've got those two things, the meditation will take you all the way there. You don't have to do anything else. That is literally it. Meditation will get you there, but you can't even start meditating until you realize, okay, this is what the tape's saying. This is what I'm up against. In other words, now you know, then you start moving. Now at least you have a game plan. You know where you're going. You know what you got to tackle. You know, okay, when this stuff comes up, I'm going to welcome it up. I'm going to, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen the first time with that big stuff. You pushed it in there with pain 30 years ago. So it's been accumulating a lot. That energy is just circling down there. It's been building up. So it's going to come up. It's going to come up. But you have to kind of lean away from it. People know what that means. You're in there. You can kind of move away from the feeling and, push it back if you have to, but stop just suppressing everything. People, it's not suppression. It's not repression. It's not, I found something I really like and now I'm not going to do it. Right. It's not that. And it's not, I have to stop doing this. It's just let things happen that are naturally happening without putting your idea of what's right and wrong on top of it. This guy shouldn't be driving. I like to think my mom is 78 years old. That's my mom. It could be my mom. Maybe it's her last couple of years driving. I wouldn't want anybody behind her beeping and yelling, right? Again, anything you can do to get yourself where, okay, yeah, that's stupid. You're right. That's all it takes. I don't care how you do it. You just have to start realizing that you need to do it.
Yeah, I love that. So I have an anecdote that I like to talk about on focus, because no different than anything else, some people have varying natural abilities to focus, right? So there's a professor named Dan Ariely. Have you ever heard of him? He teaches at Duke University. So he's a behavioral psychologist. So he studies why people make the decisions that they make. And I took a course on Udemy one time, and because I'm interested in those kinds of things, and I've always been focused on how could I get better. Like I want to be a better version of me than I used to be. That's what I focus on. Am I always successful at it? Fuck no, I'm not always successful at it. But do I always try? Yes, I always try. So I take this course, and he has an experiment. So my wife was there, and I said, hey, come take this experiment with me. So he's got 5 people. They're dressed all in black. They're holding iPads. And on the iPads, each iPad has just the screen is a solid color. There's a blue, there's a green, there's a red, there's yellow, there's an orange. And he said, these people are going to move these iPads up and down, and I want you to watch. The screens are going to change colors, and I want you to count every time you see red on any screen, doesn't matter. So it's going to go for a minute. So go. So they just very slowly, there's no trick to it. They just start moving the iPads up and down. And I'm like, I'm laser focused. And I'm that way. Like I'm a real intense, direct focus kind of guy naturally. And then through my mindset and my work and all that stuff, I've become more that way. And so my wife is doing it too. And she's the exact opposite of me. She's very creative. She's very, scattered, I think is the right way to say it. She's very intelligent, but her mind, she doesn't focus. She kind of flutters around all this stuff. So we get done, and he says, okay, write down how many you saw. And so I paused the thing, and I said, how many times did you see red? And she said, 29. How many did you see? I said, 62. And there was 63. I missed one somewhere. I don't know how I missed it. I thought I got them all. So I said it was 62. And he said, there was 63 screens that turned red on that. He said, now, how many people saw me dancing around behind those people in a bumblebee costume? And I said, what the fuck's he talking about? She's like, how did you miss him? He was back there the whole time. And I'm like, what? Like, and sure as shit, we rewound it. And there he was dancing around a bee. I literally never saw the guy. This is a full grown man dancing around a goddamn bumblebee costume like he was in the Blind Melon video. And
I do that live.
Oh, really?
Yep, I do. Yeah. I do it in my show. I go, at some point tonight, somebody in a clown costume is going to come on this stage and they're going to juggle, and you're not going to see them. And it's the same exact thing that you'll get a few that see it, and it depends on the type of the way they take in information. You'll get a few, but most people will miss the big thing. And there's a video like that too, where people are playing ping pong, and you're supposed to count how many times the ball goes back and forth, but somebody dressed like a gorilla comes in and walks around the table. It's the same thing. I love that. But I thought, how can I do this live? I want to find a way to be able to do this. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to interrupt you.
No, you weren't interrupting me at all. But my whole point is people have different tendencies. So just because it's hard for you at first doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means it might be a little bit harder for you. Like, I'm really good at math. Great. I'm not really good at walking by a piece of cake. I have to work at walking by. Like, everybody's got things that they're naturally better at just naturally than others, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have to work harder at it. Like, I've got a really bad temper. I'm super Irish. I know it's hard to tell by looking at me. And I don't drink. I've never drank. I've never been drunk in my life. It's just not my thing. That's not good or bad. It's just a statement of fact. And so I always joke, I have to fight twice as much to make up for it, because that's what Irish people do. We drink and we fight. So, but that doesn't absolve me of the responsibility of not being a complete jerk to everybody else in society because I'm just that way. That statement drives me insane. That's just how I am. No, you're choosing to be that way. You have a responsibility to own your behavior. At least that's the way I think about it. And if you start accepting that responsibility, stop being a victim to circumstances and start controlling those things, I think you're going to live a much happier, much more fulfilled, and a much more purposeful life. And that's the whole point of our podcast. So and that's what we're talking about right here, right? That's what's going to get you to identify what it is you truly want and start building a life that focuses on what you truly want. Because that's what I think we should all be doing. And it's different for everybody, the way I look at it.
Yeah, you have to know what it is. Like I said, Gavin McLeod, captain of the Love Boat, great friend of mine in Palm Springs. When I used to work for Princess Cruises, he was the ambassador, because of the Love Boat. So we filmed a bit that I used in my show where he would do the mind reading, like via the video. And I still use it sometimes. He's dressed like the captain. It's just, it's a nostalgic, piece. But he said to me once, he said, life is like a cruise ship. And I thought, oh no, here we go. Here comes the captain of the Love Boat with some kind of smarmy ass. But it was so profound what he said. He goes, these ships today are $200 million. They are the most sophisticated machines. They're unbelievable. He said, you can go up to the bridge on one of these super cruise ships. You can put in the destination, input the destination, hit the button. The ship will go to the next port without you doing anything, right? It's in the computer. Now, he said, I want you to imagine you take the same ship, but instead of that guy going up there, all he's going to do, he goes up there and he's just going to turn all the engines on full steam, and he's going to shove the accelerator forward, let the ship go. Do you think the ship's going to make it? It's not even going to make it out of port, right? It's going to crash somewhere. That's what most people are doing, because your goals are not goals. People say to me all the time, I say, what do you want? They say, I want to be rich. That's not a goal. I want to be rich as a daydream. I want to be rich. I want to be thin. I want to be this. I want to be that. That's a very vague dreamscape of a thing. That's not even, a goal is, what is it that I want? How do I want to be? And let me start moving towards it. I love there's a quote, and I don't know who said this, but there's a quote where it says, to become the man you want to be, start thinking like the man you want to be, you will become that man. It's true. You go to idea of, okay, this is how I want to be at the end. If you had a $10 million, how would you act? How would you feel? You wouldn't be worried about this. That's for sure. You wouldn't care about this. You start to kind of feel that. Again, you're faking it at the beginning, but over time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You'll get that back, that once you set that in. Right before, what did you say right before that? You cut out a little bit. The last thing you said was when we were talking there.
I was talking about Dan Ariely and the experience, and then what did I say right before that? Oh, living a purposeful life. Like, you exactly. know what you're going after if you want to live a purposeful life, and you get to choose. You get to choose what that means.
Yeah, and you can change your mind. You can. Yep. The thing is, what you want today doesn't have to be what you want tomorrow. And very often it's not. Like, your mind will change its mind. I want this. I want that. Oh, I don't like this. I like that. It'll go back and forth because it doesn't know what it's doing either. And so, like I said, when I say to someone, what do you want? And they say, I want to be rich. Okay. I want $1 billion. Nowadays, it's not even millions anymore. They want the billions, right? Okay. I'm going to give you $2 billion in cash. Okay. I'm going to drop you on an island. I'm going to drop that via helicopter. I'm going to drop that $2 billion. Okay. Uncharted island. Nobody's ever going to find you. Do you still want the money? No. Okay. I want a wedding in Maui. What do you want? I want to marry the most beautiful girl. I want to have a wedding on the beach and the sunset's perfect and it's pinks and purples and everyone's going to be jealous and they're going to die and it's going to be the most beautiful thing ever. And that's what I want. Okay. What if you get married and she's beautiful? She's the most breathtaking person you've ever seen, but you feel nothing for her. And every time you come home, you just feel like you're walking into, a prison. You hate it. You don't know, you find other reasons to get out of the house. Do you still want that marriage to that person? No, because it's not that thing that you want. It's not the money. It's not the car. It's the way you think it's going to make you feel. What are the people going to think about me if I have a Ferrari? What can I do if I have $1 billion? What are the people going to think if they see this beautiful wedding? They're all going to think you'd be jealous of me. That's what you're doing. You've got a middleman involved. You've taken something. Okay. I want to be happy. That's what you want. If God came down right now and said, here's a piece of paper, here's a pen, write down what you want. If you wrote down mansion, car, I want this, that's a lie, because in the end, what you want is to be okay, to be happy, to not be filled with anxiety, to not be, like I said, you're that spaceship up there, right? And he says, you go down there, the most amazing planet. You can do anything you want. You can be what you want. There's water. It's just incredible. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to worry myself sick. I'm going to worry about that. I mean, who would pick that? That's what you're picking. That's what we're all picking. It's like you're taking the lowest common denominator. You're taking, you're creating the anxiety. You're giving yourself, of course there are things that happen that you can't control. There are cancers, there are things, but there's also anxiety that you create. You're giving yourselves heart attacks and strokes because it used to be fight or flight. You walk out of the cave and there's a Bengal tiger there. Are you going to run? No. Are you going to fight? Now it's, you're walking towards someone and are you going to have to talk to them? That becomes fight or flight for a lot of people. You're literally in fight or flight all the time. Like over everything. You're not meant to live that way. You're not meant to be having adrenaline surge through your body all the time. Ups, down, highs, lows. We're so unregulated now. It's like, it's crazy. You're on these swinging highs and lows. It's like being bipolar, but it's everybody's like this. It's like swinging from one end to the other. So again, only you can do it, no matter what we talk about, no matter what you read. And I have so many people, I've read the books, I've done the course, I've done that. Yes, but how much of it have you tried in real life? None of it.
What are you doing about it?
Right. Yep. I tried to meditate twice. That's not enough. You have to start giving this thing the respect it deserves. Give yourself some time every day and start sitting with yourself. You're not going to like it at the beginning. It's not going to be horrible. You're not going to be overcome. You're just that thing's just going to talk. Why am I sitting here? I don't want to do this. Why do I have to do this? He doesn't know what he's talking about. What these guys on the podcast, what the hell do they know? Right. So once you get past that, it's smooth sailing and amazing things happen. You connect to a power. You're connected to something. I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you're an atheist. You'll find God that way. Because you will find that power. And it's an immense, incredible thing where many times I'll have questions that I want answered. I will meditate and get answers to questions because they're really inside. You know, the things I wanted to know. My dad died about 20 years ago. We never had a great relationship. I, in meditation once, had this conversation with my dad about why he was so tough on me. And I went to my mom and I said, oh my God. She started crying because everything I said was the truth, was what he had talked to her about, but never could say to me. Like, you know, I was overweight as a child and I didn't want you to, so, cause he was very tough about, I was a little kid. And so it was like, you know, you're gaining weight. And so then I gained more and then it became like a rebellious thing. And, you know, but then that explanation I felt that weight leaving. I'm crying. Many times you'll be sitting in meditation and you don't even know what's leaving. Something is leaving. You're crying, but you don't have to go through it. Many times it will just happen. It's like in your dreams, people have dreams where, your parents were killed in a car crash. And so if you dream about that, it's a nightmare and you wake up and you're upset, right? Your mind is so effing brilliant that it will create a story like 2 eagles flying free and, you know, this and that happening to get you past it. Now, you can't see the parents lying on the street, but you can see the 2 eagles breaking away from the baby eagle and flying off. You could see that. That's what your mind will do. Create this whole, you know, other reality to get you through it. Your mind is constantly trying to get you through this. You're the one that's pushing everything back down. Like your mind is not an enemy. You've built this part of your mind that you've allowed to become an enemy, but it's not. I mean, this mind, this human mind that we all have, we went from cavemen to the moon. How the hell did that happen? You know, a dolphin 100,000 years ago was living the way they're living now. A monkey was living I don't care how you talk about Darwin, which is great, but that monkey is not all of a sudden doing the Planet of the Apes and walking around talking, right? They are where they are and it doesn't, but humans went from the cave to the moon somehow. And that space shuttle wasn't hidden somewhere. You didn't find it. You built it. You took the molecules that are in outer space that are here on Earth, you built a rocket ship, you got in it, and you flew to the moon. That's incredible. That's what you can do as a human being. You don't have a possum's mind or a spider's mind or a duck or anything else. You've got this amazing human mind. What are you doing with it? I got ketchup on my pants. Mary isn't going to like my new car. That's what you're doing with it. It's the most amazing thing in the universe. And you're using it. It's like having the most amazing computer of all time and you're using it as a tip calculator. That's what you're doing. Like, okay, how much should I leave at this? That's all you're doing with this most amazing machine.
Yeah. And that to me, it's so obvious that's why so many people are unhappy is because they're denying what it is they actually and truly want. And they're so focused on all of this other bullshit. And that, again, the whole point of the podcast is you're choosing to be this way. Just choose to be a different way. Now, I know it's easy to say, and it's a lot harder to actually do. And we talked about this at the beginning of our conversation. It requires action on your part. You have to do the work. You have to put in the time. There is no substitution for the repetitions. And I always say, you know, walking is the example I use. So none of us stood up and walked across the room when we were little kids. We were laying there, and then at some point we were able to pull ourselves up, and then we'd fall over. Then we could sit up all the way, and we'd look around, and that did that for a little while. And then we'd pull ourselves up on things, and we did that for a while. And then we tried to take a step and fall down. At no point in that process did we quit. We kept trying. And at no point in that process did anyone else tell us, you know what? Maybe you're just not a walker. Maybe you're a crawler. You should just crawl the rest of your life. You're not very good at walking, so just give it up. Stop doing it. We don't do that. That's how we learned to walk. That's how we learned to talk. That's how we learned to read. That's how we learned to write. That's how we learned whatever it is we do for work. That's how we learned to drive a car. We've learned all of these crazy hard things to do, and we did it because we just kept trying. But at some point in a lot of people's lives, they quit trying, or they convince themselves, like you said, 80, 90 or whatever, it's too late. Are you breathing? Then it's not too late. And that's the mentality you've got to adopt is I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. It's only going to be incremental, but I call it the compound interest of life. And if you allow the compound interest of life to do its job and actually compound, or you do the work consistently over a long period of time, the returns work just like they do with money. A little bit of money that compounds over time turns into a lot of money over a long period of time. So just do the work. It'll take you to a really good spot, you know?
Not only that, too, when you were that child learning to walk, falling over, you also weren't embarrassed by
That's
falling
right.
over.
That's
That
right.
is also when we're children, we're blank slates. If you really go back to your childhood and think those early years before you start getting programmed by your parents and your teachers and the media and all of that crap, because it's all programming. What you watch, what you hear, what your religion is, that's programming. But those first couple of years where everything's amazing and and when you're happy, you're laughing, and when you're sad, you're crying, but you're over it quick. And when you're learning to walk, you fall down and you get right back up. You don't worry about, oh God, mom saw me fall. I'm so embarrassed. I'm not going to get up anymore. Once you start worrying what other people think and you go to school, it becomes a situation where it's like Beethoven did not sit down at the piano and start playing, symphonies. No one wants to look stupid. Nobody wants to be embarrassed, so they don't do anything. I can't do this because I don't know how to do it. Well, no shit. I don't know how to, I didn't know how to play tennis. I had to learn, right? If you go to a tennis coach and you have a great backhand, but you're not great on the forehand, and he's only playing to the backhand, that's a horrible coach, because you've got to expand it, right? Make it better. You can't be embarrassed about failing because you'll never do anything. And that's where that self-confidence comes in. The idea that I can do something that may maybe look dumb or whatever, which is moronic. Who's going to know this? First of all, nobody cares. If you knew how much people actually give a shit about what you're thinking or doing, you would realize nobody does, because they all have their own stuff, right? You'd realize it's just not happening. But you also would realize there's no reason to be embarrassed. There's no reason to be ashamed. Because it's only you that can feel that. Nobody can give you that, give you shame, or it's them doing something and you're interpreting it and giving yourself shame. Because the things that matter in life, I always tell people: love, confidence, courage. Those are inner world things. If I said, go out and buy me a pound of confidence, where are you going to get it? Go get me a couple of boxes of love, right? You can rent love slightly, right? But you for an hour or two, but you can't go out and find it like that. And the problem is, we think all those amazing things are out there. Love is in him. Love is in her. Success is in this job. So those are inner things. You've got to grant them to yourself. They don't come from outer things. And when you put them in outer things, they now become dependent upon that outer thing. And you're in just as bad shape as you were before, because now you may feel better slightly at the moment, but then you're worried it's going to change, or they're going to change. You've done that to yourself. You have to realize, I can look foolish sometimes to learn the things that I have to learn to get where I want to go. And that's why, swinging back to what you said, you got to have your goal in mind. You got to know what you want. You got to, you don't. And the other thing I tell people too is, don't try to go, how are you going to get there? In other words, here's the goal. Okay, this has to happen. And then somebody's going to have to do this. And then don't do that, because you're going to completely block yourself from something. I have many people that'll say, I'll tell people, I used to script a lot when I would meditate years ago. I would write I am one of the greatest mentalists. And I read all this stuff, right? And I would write down, I want to have this and I want to have that. And people will tell me I'm writing down the person that I want. I'm trying to manifest a person. And what will happen is, somebody will appear that's unbelievable but doesn't look quite like they wrote down. They will have all the attributes, but maybe they're not blonde. So they won't even think that could possibly be them. So what you're missing in your life is tremendous, because you are so narrowly focused on what you want, what you don't want, and what you think you have to do to make those things happen or not happen, that you miss everything that's happening. It's like, what are you seeing in the universe right now? You're seeing one thing right in front of you. There's another moment going on, left, right, up, down. There's billions, zillions, quintillions of moments. You're seeing this one, right? It's a gift. You're seeing this, the front row seat for this moment in time. Your entire life has been this amazing moment. The past, when it happened, was this moment. The future, when it happens, will be this moment. Nobody wants this moment. They want the next moment, right? It's Wednesday and I'm going out Friday night. I don't want Thursday. I want it to be Friday. It's Tuesday and I'm going on vacation next Monday. I want Monday. I'm making a cup of coffee. I don't want this moment. I want the moment where I'm drinking the coffee. So you put happiness ahead of you and you're constantly chasing it. And these are all things that if you just look at them differently, like you said, you slightly change the way you're looking at them. And we don't care how you get there. Pick any of the things that we said, that, make it bigger, make it smaller, do the opposite, do whatever you have to do. But as soon as you start getting awareness, you'll see that you've been living in a tunnel. Most of us are born, we die, and we never come out of that tunnel. It's like birth to death. You don't realize there's sun, there's light, so if you can get yourself out of there, I don't care if it takes you for the rest of your life. And if you don't, if you never make it, but you're constantly striving towards it, that is still such a huge win, because most people are stuck at that 7%. They're living the same life over and over. They're literally living in the past, because people wake up in the morning and they go, oh God. Then they think of all the crap they have to do, and then all the shit that happened yesterday. And guess what? It is yesterday. It's no longer a new, fresh day. You are trudging into today, dragging along yesterday, which means you're living in the past. You're feeling the same things. You're getting upset over the same crap. You are putting grooves deeper and deeper into your record. So any little thing you do is going to start getting you out of this. And when you're pulling free of it, this is liberation. I mean, this is freedom. Freedom is not, I always thought freedom was to be an entrepreneur and do whatever you want. So you wouldn't have to have a job. That is one part of freedom, but that's not liberation. That's not freedom from the thing that you really need freedom from, which is yourself, which is what you've done to this thing. You have taken this amazing thing and, you have piled so much crap in there. It's like an episode of Hoarders. You've taken all the things you don't like, you've thrown it in there, and it's like people say to me, but how, if I get rid of what really hurt me, how will I know how bad it was? It's like saying, and I said, well, that's like saying you go to a restaurant, you're eating the food, it's bad. And because it's bad, you're going to take some of it home in a doggy bag and you're going to taste it tomorrow to remember how bad it was today. That makes no sense, right? That's what you're doing every day. You're doing that every day. So again, doesn't make logical sense, but nobody looks at it that way. And nobody ever talks like this. They say, you've got to, positive thinking, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. All you got to do is start going in instead of out, and you'll start to free yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The true freedom comes from being happy. And I always like to say happy, not satisfied with who you are, because satisfied implies you're done, and you're never done. That's the part that I think a lot of people get confused. There is no goal line where you cross and spike the football and do your touchdown dance. That doesn't happen in life. You can celebrate moments and you can celebrate accomplishments, and that's great. I think you should do that. But if you ever think you're done, you haven't figured this out yet. It's just if you count on external things for your happiness and your meaning in life, you're going to be disappointed your entire life. It comes from within you. And like, I use my wife as a good example. So like, I have never cheated on my wife. I would never cheat on my wife. My wife happens to be very physically attractive. She's 1,000 times a better person than she is physically attractive. Neither of those are the reason that I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my wife because I don't want to cheat on my wife. It would bother me personally. Even if I could get away with it. The old, hey, what if, the space alien that's gorgeous would come down and sleep with you and then take off and no one would ever know. But I would know. I don't want to be that way. So I'm not going to be that way. And don't get me wrong, I've fucked up and done a lot of stupid, crazy shit. So this is one where I look like a good guy because it's really important to me and always has been. But I've done my fair share of shady, stupid stuff that I don't ever, I wish I'd never done it. But I did it. It is what it is. I've got to come to terms with it, And you can't get hung up on that stuff. To your point, I love your perspective on, we give so many other people second chances. What, you don't get one? Like, you don't get one yourself? What the fuck?
And not only that, if you do this and give yourself another shot, you're going to change your entire generational line. I mean, think about it. Who better to do this than somebody who gets control of themselves, no longer allows the old programming to infest their children? Because what we're doing is taking mom and dad's crap, adding our crap, giving it to them, they add it to their crap. That's what's happening. But you can stop the entire generational trauma line, and we all have one. I mean, some of them are very strong, some of them are, not great big things, but you're still getting something. People get racism, you get homophobia, you get all of these things. That's not something that you are born with. You are not.
That's right.
You're taught these things. So they're coming from somewhere. If you stand up and start saying, I'm going to give myself another shot, you have to also think in the back of your head, I'm also saving my family tree. I am changing the future. It's like Back to the Future. I'm Marty McFly and I'm changing the future for my family. And it's true, because if you stand up and say, I'm not taking this, I'm not doing this anymore, they'll see it. They'll see something changing. They'll see you doing these things, and they'll see that, wow, they start to get motivated, like I said. And that's how we change. That's how the world changes for the better, instead of everybody just fighting. And then the only person who wins that is whoever has the most nukes or the most tanks, or it doesn't make any sense. And the reason we have we have wars and things is because we're not okay. So two people that aren't okay are, one it their way. I want it my way. He wants it his way. We both think we have the right to think that. And we're going to go out there, and whoever has the biggest army is going to win this. But that doesn't mean the person who wins is right. It doesn't mean the reality. People don't like reality. It's like, I don't want that to have happened. And I always say the key word there is have happened. It has happened. That makes it reality. By going, people say all the time, if I had done this, then he wouldn't have done that. And then he wouldn't have left. And then they go try to backtrack and go, okay, try to go back in their mind to one moment, which, they think is the pivotal moment. And then it would have changed. First of all, you don't know that. But if you play that game, you spend 40% of the day in the past, 40% of the day in the future. Those two things don't exist except in your mind. That spends 20% of the day in the now. And this is your moment where you can do anything, is this moment. And again, nobody wants it. It's like, I want to go in the past and think about the good time I had in fourth grade, or I want to go in the future and worry about something. It's like, you're alive right now. You might not be here tomorrow. This is it. This is the moment. So go out and spend it on yourself. It's not greedy to give yourself 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. Get up a little early. Anybody can do this. Get up early, stay up a little later, do it on your lunch break. Don't eat, a full lunch. Do whatever you have to do to make this happen. You are going to invest in the greatest program you've ever done without any money. You're investing in yourself. And that's what matters. The only thing that matters.
And, by the way, this moment is literally the only thing you have control over. So what has happened already, there is no DeLorean in real life. There's no Wayback Machine to go way back before whatever your particular thing or issue or time happened. It happened. It's over. It's in the books. That is what it is. And yeah, you can be prepared for what you think is going to happen tomorrow and blah, 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 but you actually don't have any control over it. COVID's a perfect example. How many of us knew that we'd wake up in March of 2020 and the whole fucking world would shut down for 3 months? Like, what the hell? You couldn't plan for that. You didn't know. You didn't have control over it. What you have control over is right now. And why not make the most of right now? And then when the next moment comes, make the most of that. And when the next moment comes, make the most of that. But literally, the only thing you have control over is the here and the now. And it's one of the things I love about doing the podcast, because like, I'm with you. I've got nothing against programs. I got nothing against books. I've got nothing against any of those things. We have people on the podcast and they have those things, and I love talking to them and hearing about them. And we recommend people go check them out because maybe it's right for you. And that's great if it's right for you. I'm not selling anything. I don't have a book. I don't have a program. I don't have any of those things. I just have been around for 53 years. I've been in a great relationship. I have 3 adult sons who I place a whole bunch of value on them, their opinions. They're good men. They got their own problems, just like everyone's got their own problems, but we got them mostly right. They're good guys. And I look around at the world today and say there's so many people that won't take responsibility for their own lives or are afraid to take responsibility for their own lives. And we who have come before them and have some life experience and know All the rest of the superfluous stuff is bullshit. Have a responsibility to call that out and to try to help other people see it for themselves so that they can help themselves. Because I can't push you up the ladder. You got to climb it. But I can show you the ladder and I can tell you the approach I took to climb it, and maybe that'll resonate with you. And then with the podcast, I can expose you to all sorts of other people who have climbed the ladder different ways than I did, and maybe one of those is going to resonate with you. My whole thing is you have a responsibility to yourself and the people around you to try to be the best version of yourself you can be. And if we all do that, imagine the fucking world we'll live in, you know?
I love it.
Yeah. So, hey, look, I cover a lot of territory. We talk about a lot of stuff. I run my mouth a lot. I don't ever want to miss a good topic or a good opportunity because I didn't ask the right questions or I didn't give our guests the chance to bring it up. So, is there anything I haven't asked you about, or are there any topics that we haven't talked about that you feel strongly about that you want to make sure we cover while we're in front of the audience?
I don't think there's anything else. It's just to reiterate the fact that wherever you are watching this from, no matter how old you are, no matter what you weigh, no matter what color you are, sexuality you are, none of that has any impact on this working in your life. It doesn't. And it doesn't matter how many times you watch this video, how many books you read or anything else, unless you put it into action. And you hit on the magic word of the whole thing. Without action, none of this matters, because if you just lay down on the sofa and expect life to do anything for you, life is unfolding. The moment in front of you is here. It's a gift. If you are laying down and just waiting for, things to happen, somebody to call you, that's not the way it works. That's not the way this works. So it doesn't matter anything, where you are, what you look like, you can do this. I promise you, you can do this. And if you do, let us know. Because the motivation other people will feel, us talking about it is one thing, but if you do it and it changes something in you and it's done for the better, share it. Let people know about this podcast. Tell people to subscribe and come back here, because if it changed your life, your story could do that for somebody else. And then their story could do that. Again, it's another one of those things where we were building this lattice work. So, try it for yourself. Really give it a chance, though. Don't just try it for a day or two. Give it a couple of weeks. I promise after a couple of weeks, no matter where I go in the world, if I have to get up for a flight at 5 a.m., I'm up at 1 so I can meditate. I meditate 45 in the morning, 45 in the evening. With my schedule, it's crazy, but I only do it because it works. I wouldn't do it if it didn't work. But if you can get to 15 minutes morning and evening, that is all you need for the rest of your life. That's it. Do it every day, twice a day. I have not missed a day in, 1,500 days. I have a tracker on my phone, that shows where I do it twice a day. Make it a priority. Make yourself the priority, and you can do this. I promise.
I love it. Great stuff. Hey, Brent, thank you so much for joining us. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed our conversation. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing all that with our audience.
Joe, it was great. I just love having a conversation like this, where you're just free flowing and talking about, things and really trying to help people. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I loved it too. So, let's keep in touch. We can do this again. And, it's like we talked about, like you're talking about meditation, this stuff, it's not one and done. You got to keep at it. And, I get so much energy out of the conversations that I have with people. So I love having them. So we'll keep in touch and maybe do it again somewhere down the road.
Sounds great.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Brent. Have a good trip on your cruise you're doing next week.
Hey, appreciate it. Keep in touch.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
See ya. So there you go, guys. Loved the conversation with Brent. Totally love his approach. Remember the ABCs that he talked about. Remember, you've got to go through that process for a while. It costs you nothing. He's not selling it to you. There's no cost to it. This is him sharing what has made his life what it is today. And this is a guy that's made and lost a bunch of money a couple of times. And if he's willing to share all this with you and it costs you nothing other than the time investment and can lead you to such a great life, I am urging you to try this for a couple of weeks. Why not? What do you have to lose? If you're stuck, if you're unhappy, if you're not satisfied, why not give this a shot and see if it leads you down a path that takes you where you want to go. Loved having Brent on. Like we said at the end there, we'll keep in touch with him and bring him back on at some point and revisit our conversation, just check in on him, see how he's doing. So thank you, Brent. You did a great job. Really loved having you on the podcast. James puts it up over here every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. Links to all social media accounts are available there. We publish a newsletter every weekday you can subscribe to there. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. We find awesome people like Brent and all the other awesome guests that we have on the podcast. They share all these awesome ideas to help you build the life that you want. You don't want to miss any of that stuff because it's great stuff and it's really going to help you get to where you want to be. Make sure you catch our next episode. We will see you there.